Good evening, welcome to my channel. I'm going to read you another 1,000 word story. This one actually is 1,000 words long, and it's based as usual on 5 random words, and I'm trying out, facing more directly towards the camera to hopefully improve engagement and all that. Anyway, this story is based on the following 5 random words generated by a random word generator online, and the words are: and this story is called Flotsam and Jetsam. At the 3rd attempt, I land the hook into the exposed midriff of the floater, a middle-aged woman, we guess, although it's hard to tell from the bloating. The gnarled silhouette of Jackson nods against the lurid orange backdrop of a fading sun as he guns the engine. I tie the rope to the gunwale, and the small skiff begins to tow the unfortunate through the reeds towards the shore. We'll leave the body by the roadside for the authorities to identify, if they can, if there are still authorities. Jackson and I have taken this task upon ourselves. Nobody asked us to do anything more than survive. When the tsunami came, the seawall shattered and mass evacuation took place. Jackson, I, and perhaps a dozen other villagers stayed behind. Our lowland realm had been on the verge of giving itself fully to the sea, and we were too exhausted to run. The names of the villages on the North Norfolk salt marshes quaintly hint at an amphibious nature: Wells next the sea, Clay next the sea. Now those places are fully and finally in the sea, and the relationship has been consummated. The old granary at Wells remains a rare protrusion on the coast. Its top floor and gantry are current home. The sea washes inland as far as Norwich, as a few of us cling on in our boats and dinghies, breaking into the 6-storey granary to take ownership of the designer flats the wealthy second homers fled. Jackson and I are friends, but people assume we're a couple. I'm 57 and Jackson refuses to state his age, but the lines on his sea-weathered face place him squarely in his 70s. He was always alone. I lost my husband in the catastrophe. Jackson is a charismatic former seaman turned painter who owned a small gallery on the Wells shorefront. I'd been on holiday with my husband Stephen, living in the Albatross, an 18th century Dutch schooner turned floating bar with tourist berths. When the tsunami hit, the Albatross owner struck out to sea to better weather the storm and did not return. I was sitting in a restaurant with Stephen when the wave shattered the windows and all became chaos. Jackson rescued me in his 2-sail skiff as I shivered on the granary roof, wondering what the hell to do next. I don't know for certain that Stephen is dead, and I'm dreading the day we find him floating face down in the green pools of the new lagoon. It hasn't happened yet, and a shred of hope hangs on. Once we leave the mystery man on shore and plant a stake and a rag of white cloth to mark the spot, we putter round the coast in the direction of King's Lynn, where a couple of church spires mark the 1/4 mile or so of the town that remains above the waterline. Near the shore, a row of beech trees that must have clung onto some fertile ridge amongst the dunes now lie horizontal on the water, its branches still lividly green on the upper boughs. As we glide around the raised fans of muddy roots, an inflatable dinghy noses out from cover, its engine spluttering into life. A man in his early 20s kneels at the prow, levelling a shotgun. "Toss over whatever you got," he commands, all humanity gone in his gaunt search for sustenance. Jackson kills the engine as we drift alongside, our stern swivelling so that we sit prow to stern with our attacker's boat. I can see Jackson reach down for something out of sight, and I know what it is. He nods slowly with one eye closed, our secret sign, a call for desperate measures. We have just one bag of food left, mostly canned goods, and we can't just give it up. I grab the bag of tins and wait until the young man starts to turn my way. I hurl the bag into his chest and duck as 2 things happen at once. A shotgun blast illuminates the sky above our boats as Jackson stabs the young man with the darts he plucked from the dartboard I found earlier floating over the marbled surf. We both know this is essential. he would not have let us live. You learn to recognise a certain look. The man drops his gun and grabs at his neck as blood gouts between his fingers. He gurgles something indistinct while I take the food back, along with a knapsack at the bottom of the boat and the shotgun. I fire the remaining barrel into the inflatable skirt of the dinghy, shredding it. It slumps and begins taking on water. The young man claws our gunwales with slippery fingers. Taking pity, I toss him a t-shirt. Tie it around your neck. It's more to give our attacker the reprieve of hope than to offer any real solution to his incipient death. I think Jackson hit an artery. The young man will bleed out in minutes. As we motor away, I look back to see our victim, neck duly wrapped, clambering onto a trunk as his dinghy sinks. Fuck, Jackson, that was intense, I mutter. Didn't have any other option, he says quietly. He would have shot us both. He sounds like he's trying to convince himself more than me. I nod, finding a tear running down my cheek, which I wipe away. It's been a while since either of us wept in the face of death. Most of Britain has been devastated by storm after storm, heatwave after heatwave, the failure of the crops, the disillusion of Europe, and the Second American Civil War. Everyone's a survivor now. Nobody knows quite why any of us are clinging on to the fringes of civilization, but survival is a hard habit to break. And there's a chance, just a chance, that we'll find something of value floating amongst the detritus of our unexamined lives. Thus, we live in hope. For what else is there? And there you go. So that was a kind of J.G. Ballard type post-apocalyptic tale, and that was quite amusing to set it in the Alan Partridge heartland of Norfolk, reimagined somewhat differently. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and if you did, I would love it if you could like this video, subscribe to the channel, possibly even share it. Do all of those things. There are various buttons and possibly another video appearing here. And yeah, and we'll see you again very soon. Goodbye.